As alluded to by the Minister, today is a significant occasion for all Victorians, and we commence the commemoration of the centenary of World War I. We do have a very full program of speakers today, but it is very important that before we proceed, we are going to reflect upon the sacrifice and spirit of the service of our men and women. And I'd like to invite Breanna Janson to come forward. Each year, the Victorian Government sponsors the Spirit of Anzac Prize, as the Minister has spoken about, for school children, and the prize results in a trip to the sites associated with World War I. Today, Breanna is one of the recipients for 2014, and she's going to read her poem about the service of her great-grandfather during World War II as a prisoner of war, labouring on the Burma-Thailand railway. Breanna.
My unknown soldier. Lawrence William Bailey, my war hero from the past. Proud and determined, his legacy shall last. In the 2nd Pioneer Battalion, he fought in World War II, had to change his date of birth to fight in land anew. A young man of just 17, he was taken to Paka to train. Just 11 months later, his journey was underway. Aboard the Queen Mary, they reached Egypt in a month, made their way to Syria, where they put up a good front. Fighting to reclaim land, many lost their lives. The men held up until November, till the troop ship Orcades arrived. Their service had been done. They were set to sail home. Their families are waiting for their loved ones to be shown. The ship came to a halt. The Orcades was changing path. They had to go and help the Dutch, save them from a bloodbath. The Japanese had Java. It had to be taken from their clutch. With the Black Force fighting their hardest, they couldn't do as much. The Dutch surrendered on the 8th of March and the Black Force the very next day. The Japanese captured these brave men and they were taken to the Burma-Thailand railway. Hard physical labour was to come, beating down the prisoners of war. When human rights were compromised, they would see a silver lining no more. These men were malnourished and starving. Their bodies could not cope. Many of us would have buckled, but there was no time to lose hope. A handful of rice per day, a pound of rotten meat, working shifts of 33 hours, their bodies had been beat. Shifting 2 metres of dirt per day, without a tool or shovel, no clothes nor shoes, and still they did not grovel. Healthcare was non-existent. Many suffered from disease. Malaria, beriberi, and cholera sent many to their knees. Dysentery and gangrene, the horrors they wrought. Dehydration killed many because clean water was so short. These men saw horrors, their mates rotting in shallow graves. I'm sure many would have questioned if this was better than being a slave. The latrines were overflowing, the barracks crowded and hot. Personal hygiene was lacking, however brutality was not. These men were flogged and beaten with any tool around. Some had to hold out pails, whipped if they dropped them on the ground. His family received only a note, missing in action, presumed dead. For 3.5 years they waited, with a horrible sense of dread. Lawrence was a released prisoner, finally free to go. A ship brought him back to Australia. His family didn't know. He caught a train to Orbost, with his belongings on his back. He wore his army uniform. Pride he did not lack. However, people passed around him, without resolve to acknowledge his stand. Only one man stepped outside his shop and had the gratitude to shake his hand. He showed up at his mother's door, and what surprise his family felt. His brothers came to welcome him home, all returned soldiers themselves. Lawrence soon found love. He settled down, had 5 children, in his small hometown. He disciplined his children to always finish their plate, never wasted a morsel, but rice he never ate. Marched in every Anzac Day, donned his medals with pride, held his head high with his fellow men, his wife and kin watching from the side. He did not tell his family much. Horrors he did not reveal. He didn't want to plague them for his nightmares they should feel. He didn't need to tell them, for they could see the scars. His arms and back were covered in the lashings from afar. But these were not as bad as the scars within his heart. His injuries you couldn't see were the ones that tore him apart. His battle was never over as the war affected his health. He had a weakened heart from the disease his body felt. He did not tell his family he had only months to live, still trying to protect them. He gave them all that he could give. For 40 years after, his heart could not amend. Now his body lay at rest. War claimed him in the end. Although I never knew him, I only wish I had. He is my quiet hero, my great-granddad.